Well, good day, everyone. This is your friend Fitz. Welcome inside the Ark once again, and where through discipleship, we help those who desire it to become aligned with, renewed by, and centered in the truth of God. This changes everything. And today I want to talk a little bit more about my journey, what kind of brought me to where I am right now. The main point I want to bring out today is regarding secular self-improvement. You hear a lot about personal growth and self-improvement and self-betterment, whatever you want to call it. But there is this phenomenon called secular, what I will call the self-improvement phenomenon. It's become the cultural norm in our society. And it seems that secular self-improvement is the new spirituality. And there are a ton of self-improvement applications. Self-improvement is this multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Billions are spent on programs, they're spent on coaches. And I asked myself, well, God, well, not myself, but I asked God, well, what is our fascination, God, with this whole secular self-improvement, personal growth phenomenon? Why do we spend so much money on it? Self-improvement is undertaken when people want to better themselves, when they want to improve some area of their lives. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. They might say, well, I want to lose weight, or I want to be more disciplined with money. I want to eat healthier, discover my purpose, be more confident, strengthen my relationships. And these are many of the external reasons that people engage in personal growth or secular forms of personal growth. And often what happens is this takes place within communities of like-minded people who are under the watchful eye of coaches. And whatever the application, though, coaching, I found, is spiritual in nature. It's spiritual in nature, meaning the change that is sought after is an inner one that manifests in outward behavior. So for example, if a person hires a health coach to assist with improving their health, they soon learn that there is inner work that is involved surrounding the mindset that produces the results. You got to change your mindset relative to food and exercise. So it's a mindset change that's really needed if you want to make this outward physical, experience this outward physical result. So that, my friends, is a spiritual work that's being done. And if your life is going to change, and you've heard me say this in the past before, if you're going to change, you have to change spiritually. The only way a change is going to take place in our lives is it has to be a spiritual change. It has to be a mental change, something that's got to be triggered on the inside that manifests on the outside. So mindset work is the core of secular self-improvement, and it's spiritual work. So those of you may know me, some of you may know, some of you may not, but I was practically raised in church, raised in what I would call the sacred space. And some years ago, I felt really compelled to take this journey of self-betterment as I was feeling a sense of uncertainty. I felt disenfranchised by traditional church. My life, I wasn't sure where my life was headed. I wasn't sure where I fit in. I didn't really fit in a church, and the secular world didn't seem like a place that I really wanted to gel with either. So I really didn't know where I fit in. And I was having a bit of an identity crisis. So I sensed this pull towards betterment, towards improving myself. And the traditional church environment, though, that I was accustomed to, it seemed inadequate to fulfill what I really needed, this longing in my soul. It just didn't seem able to fulfill what I was really needing, what I was looking for. And Christians experience these things as well, because we're not, just because we're Christian doesn't mean we don't experience some of the things that people that are non-Christians experience. We're humans first. So you would think that being in this sacred spiritual growth space and this setting, that I had access to all the help I needed. Well, I did and I didn't. There was no one that was truly aware of what I really needed and the power of resources that I needed. And due to some very traumatic experiences that took place for me in a traditional setting, I felt the traditional setting had failed me. So what I did, like many Christians do, they stepped outside of the confines of the sacred and became involved in the secular world of self-improvement and personal growth. And I started to attend seminars, workshops, and I met a lot of people who were also working on their self-betterment. Many of the people I met were Christians. They were believers. And I was somewhat relieved because it was a bit of a strange atmosphere. And I was somewhat relieved to learn that I was not the only believer that was seeking growth outside the house. But after sitting through many of the sessions, and in spite of many of the similarities, because I started noticing this, this is a spiritual work that's going on here. There was this uneasiness that I couldn't shake. It was a spiritual process. And I soon discovered some very stark differences between the world of the secular and the sacred spirituality. The worldviews were markedly different. However, because at the time I had a lack of discipline, I wanted what I wanted, I found myself mixing and syncretizing sacred and secular beliefs, which many of us in the church do. And we either ignorant of it or we know and we ignore it. But we mix in the church sacred and secular ideas. And that's not something that God is pleased with. So the temptation to do so, to continue to syncretize and mix things, it was validated by many believers that I met that were in that world, by fellow Christians. Many, they were all doing the same thing. And everybody was saying, well, it's okay. I convinced myself that God has to be in this. Why wouldn't God want me to prosper and be successful as I was being taught? I said, heck, there are other Bible believers that are here and the church let me down. So God has to be in this. That was my reasoning. However, there was this nagging inner voice. Something never let me go. This nagging inner voice that kept telling me something was not quite right. I could no longer ignore the handwriting on the wall. And God told me, and I had to acknowledge this, that secular self-improvement is not for you. It's not for Christians. It's not for believers. It's not for followers of Christ. Everything spiritual is not sent from God. Everyone spiritual does not represent God. I saw this clear line in the sand being drawn. And the God of secular self-improvement, the God that we see of secular personal growth, is not the God of the Bible. What I and every other Christian needed was discipleship, not personal growth. Join me on the next video, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the fact that I realized I was chasing the wind. Join me on the next video. I'll see you next time inside the art. Peace and blessings.